Welcome to Word Chapter 2. We are going to cover creating a research paper with references and sources. The cool thing about Microsoft Office is that even if you don't know anything about the different styles, the MLA, all the different stuff that your English teachers ask for, that Microsoft Office can do that all for you, or Microsoft Word can do that all for you. It can also number your pages and make great cover pages, and it is so very easy. Footnotes, endnotes, bibliographies, and Microsoft Word does all the hard work for you. So let's get started. Now on page 69 it tells us to open up Word. So however you get into Word, that's how I want you to open it. We're not that picky. I have mine on the taskbar. Then it also tells us on page 69 that we want to click on the blank document. So we will click on that. And then remember, the first thing that we always want to do is to save. So you can do Control S, or you can do File Save As. And then you need to navigate to wherever you're saving your work for this class. And for me, it is just a little buried, but it's organized. Alright, so remember to put your last name first, first name last, underscore, and then the name. For this case, it's going to be Biometric Devices Paper. And remember that you turn this in as your chapter project, and you'll attach this to your assignment link in Blackboard for week 2. Now, number 7 says make sure that you have the print layout view. Now, you can choose on your keyboard alternate Control P, or you can look down in your status bar, and it is the second icon from the right on the right hand side. So make sure that you are in the print layout view. Now, you also want to make sure that your normal style is selected. You can either click on normal, or you can do Control Shift and N, and that will take you to the normal style. Now, you also want to display the page the same width as the document. So you can go to the view, which is alternate W, and then you go to page width and click on that, and now it is as wide as your monitor. On page 70, it has you saving your file. Oh, no, that was me that wrote that in. Alright, so to display our formatting marks, you can click on Home or do alternate H. And then click on your Show Hide button, which is this backwards P looking thing. It is also a Control and asterisk if you're using your keyboard commands. Now, so we're going to make sure that is on. I always leave this on. I never turn it off. Now, we want to go to our normal styles. So if you're using keyboard commands, that's alternate Control Shift S. And for us, they're using the mouse, you can right click the normal and then choose Modify. And we're going to change the way that this looks. So number 3, it wants you to click on the font arrow. If you're using your keyboard, you can tab until you get to the font arrow. And if you're using your mouse, click on the down arrow and choose Times New Roman. You can actually type in TI and Times New Roman will pop up, and then hit enter. For your font size, hit tab again if you're using your keyboard, and then type in a size 12 or click on size 12. Now, down at the bottom, if you tab continuously until you get to only this document, you want to make sure and that you have a dot in only this document, and then you will click on or tab to OK. And now you have changed the default for this file only to Times New Roman size 12, so you can see how it changed it. On page 72, we are supposed to change our line spacing. If you're using the commands up here at the top in your ribbons, you will go to the line and paragraph spacing in your home tab, click on the down arrow and choose 2. If you're using keyboard commands, choose Control 2 from your keyboard. On page 73, we're going to remove the space after a paragraph. The new word automatically puts an additional space at the end of each paragraph. And since we are going to do a first line indent on this paper, we do not want nor need that extra space. So once again, we will click on the line and paragraph spacing from the Home tab in the paragraph group and slide all the way down to the bottom where it says remove space after paragraph and click on that. So now there is no longer a space after the paragraph. So when you hit enter, there won't be an extra gap. Now, we are going to right click on our normal styles gallery again. So keyboard command is alternate Control Shift S. Mouse is right click normal. And now this time we want to choose update normal to match selection. And that is the first choice on the drop down menu when you right click. So now let's change the normal to include the changes that we made in our paragraph spacing. Now we're going to create our headers. So to switch to the header, you want to click on Insert and then Add a Header. And that is in the header and footer section. Add a Header is the first button in that grouping on the Insert ribbon. So you click on Header and you have several different choices. On 75 it says choose Edit Header in the Add Header gallery. So we slide all the way down to the bottom and choose Edit Header. And notice that now you're in this top section of your page, and notice it calls it the header. You also see this backwards P or your show high character showing faded out in the bottom section. That is your normal body where you normally type things. This header section is the part where normally your English teachers or people ask you to put in your names, the dates, maybe file names, stuff like that. So we are going to right align our paragraph. So keyboard command is Control R, or you can click on the home ribbon and then go to the paragraph section and choose the Align Right button and click, and notice that our Show Hide button pops all the way over to the right hand side of the page. Then we are going to type on page 76 Bailey, B-A-I-L-E-Y, and hit the space bar, and that puts in that person's last name into the header. Do not put in yours. I'm not going to ask you to do any of the stuff that it says if requested by your instructor. Your instructor is not requesting. Just follow the directions in the book. Now we're going to insert a page number. On page 76, number 1, underneath to insert a page number, it says to click on the header and footer tools design. So since we are in our header, it automatically opens up an additional ribbon. So we're going to click on that ribbon, and then in that design tab, which is our only choice in there, we're going to choose add page number. So we're going to go to the page number in the header footer section, click on the down arrow, and choose add page numbers. And then tap or point to current position. And then on page 77, we're to use the plain number. So that's the very first choice in the group. And notice that it says Bailey page 1 or Bailey 1. And the cool thing about auto numbers with Microsoft Word is that when it goes to page 2, it will number at page 2. When it goes to page 3, Word will number at page 3. You don't have to type in the page number for each page any longer. Saves a lot of time. So we want to go up to our ribbon and click on Close Header and Footer. Now, you can do that, and you can also just double click inside this grayed out body area, and that also closes your header and footer. Both ways work fine. Make sure you know both, so that when you get to Sam, you always know an alternative. Now notice that your header is grayed out here now, and the body of your paper is now a dark, you can see the dark show hide character. Great. So we're turning to page 78. At the bottom of the page 78, it says type Teddy Bailey. And then hit enter. Number 2 says type Ms. Pedro and hit enter. And if you catch your mistakes early, it's a good thing. Number 3 says type English 101. Oh, it's going to be one of those kind of days. Alright, and hit enter. Number 4 says type October 15, 2014. And hit enter. On page 79, it tells us to center. You can use your keyboard commands Control E to center, or on your home ribbon, go to the paragraph section and click on center. Both ways work well. Now, on page 79, we are going to type, actually turn the page, and on page 80, you're going to type access granted. And then hit enter. Now, I want you to look on page 80 in the bottom section of that page. It has keyboard shortcuts. So if you need to use keyboard shortcuts, then that gives you a lot of keyboard commands. Alright, now on page 81, Control L to left align, or click on the left align button in the paragraph section of your home ribbon. Control L or the align left. Both work great. Now, keyboard command for save is Control S, and you can actually click on this quick access bar and click on that save button. Alright. Now, since we have already named it, it automatically saves it where we put it and what we called it. And only time we have to do file save as is if we're going to change the name of the paper or the file, or if we're going to change the location where we have it saved. Great. Now, page 81. We've already saved this, so we don't have to do all that stuff. Now, we need to display our ruler. So you can click on the View ribbon, or if you're using keyboard commands, you can do alternate W to get there. Okay? Now, we want to click on the View Ruler checkbox. So in the Show section, make sure that the ruler checkbox is selected. And that gives us this ruler at the top and at the left of our paper. Now, on page 83, it says that we want to make a first line indent. So there are a couple of different ways. And the way the book's showing you is to grab, now let me explain. Sometimes you have to hold your tongue just right to make this work. But you want to grab, notice there's 3 sections here. You have this down pointing thing, an up pointing thing, and then a little squarish thing here. You want to, now since this is a first line indent, you can grab and make sure you're pointing right at it, the top down arrow looking thing, and you're going to drag it to the 0.5 mark. Now as long as you hit enter, that will stay for the entire paper. Now if you and your mouse don't get along, you can always come to the home ribbon, to the paragraph section, and do you see this bottom right hand corner? If you just barely slide over it, that is the paragraph settings. And if you click on that, you'll get the old school menu. From here, you will choose first line indent in the special section. So if you and your mouse don't get along, that is an alternative. Alrighty. Now, number 3. Okay. Page 84. We are going to type that paragraph on number 4. So I'm going to pause this and type it. So in case you don't know where we are, page 84, number 4, biometric device. Pause your movie and start it back when you are ready. Now, once you've typed that, go ahead and just make sure you don't have any mistakes. Remember that if you have any squiggly lines, you need to right click on those and see what's wrong. You better go ahead and fix it now. I also like to save very quickly, so you can do Control S or click on the little disc in your quick access bar. It's always better to do that than to have everything crash on you and then lose it all. Now, depending on how you've learned, 2 spaces at the end of every sentence is how most of us have learned how to type. The current style in about half the people is to put 1 space. So this is my deal. The book has you doing 1 space. If you choose to do 2 spaces at the end of a sentence, that is fine. But you must do it consistently for the entire paper. It is your choice, but you must do it consistently. If you have 1 after some and 2 after others, I'm going to count off 2 points for every time that it's not the same as the first one. So at the end of this sentence, I'm going to hit space 1 time. And granted, it's hard for me to get used to this because I've typed for a very long time doing 2 after, but more and more we're running into people who choose just 1 space, and that's how this book is typed, and that's how Office likes to do it for us also. So I will hit 1 space, and if you look at page 84, number 1, at the bottom, the second bullet, it says type the beginning of the next sentence, misspelling the word that, T-H-A-T. They want you to spell it T-A-H-T, so you can see what happens when something is misspelled. So once again, I'm going to pause this and let's type these devices translate. Alright, and I'm going to pause. You can type with me. Now notice that when you hit the space bar, it automatically corrects itself. Did you see how it flipped the letters around? Perfect. Word does that for you, and you're going to learn how to make your own autocorrect options. That one is standard. So on number 2 at the bottom part, we're going to finish the sentence, and it is compared with a digital code stored in a computer. And once again, if you have mistakes, fix it right away. There's a period at the end of that, and since I'm doing 1 space only, I will hit the space bar 1 time only at the end of that. Now on page 85, there should be a small blue box below the automatically corrected word. So if I come over here to that, and it's very hard to see, but when you slide over to the word that, you can see a small blue box right there. Okay, so and that is the autocorrect options. If you click on that, there we go. Like I said, you kind of hold your tongue just right. You get the auto corrections box and you click on the down arrow and you can say, hey, I want to change this back to TAHT, or stop correcting. And this stop automatically correcting is great if you're typing a letter for somebody else and you're supposed to put your reference initials at the bottom in lowercase, and as soon as you do, you hit enter and it automatically makes it capital. And that is a pain to fix, to make it stop. So you can do it this way, stop automatically correcting the capital, and then it would stop fixing it and it would be the way you want it to be. But in this case, we want to leave it just like it is, so we will leave it be. Now we're going to hit escape because we don't want to change anything. And then on page 86, we are going to create our own autocorrect options. Alright, first thing we want to do is click on File and then go to Options. Now, if you are using keyboard commands, you would do alternate F and then T. And the T part is for us, we want to choose proofing. So if you're using keyboard commands, arrow down twice to proofing. And then we want to go to autocorrect options. If you're using keyboard, once again, hit tab one time and then hit enter. Now you have the autocorrect box and your cursor is automatically in the replace box. You can type whatever you want to put in here, and then you can tell it that every time I type this, I want it to be this, and that's what the with box, the one right next to it, is for. So for example, if your name is really long, so my name is Diana Lynn Smith, if I was going to type that every time, all I would have to type is DLS and put my full name here in the with, and then every time I type DLS, it would spit out the full name. Alright, that is a great way to use this. In this case, it wants us to autocorrect computer. So let's say that you always spell computer wrong, and in the book it's telling you to spell it COMPUTER. And then, for example, I always swap my O and my F on of, and for some reason it comes out FO. So of is a good one for me to do here. And we're going to type in with, so if you're using a keyboard, hit tab. And you will type in the with box, computer spelled correctly, COMPUTER. So every time you spell it this way, when you hit the space bar, it'll automatically go to this spelling here. Alright, then you want to click on add. Alright, and if you're using the keyboard commands, hit enter. And then click OK or enter again if you're keyboards, and then OK or enter again if you're using the keyboard. Turn the page. On page 88, we're going to enter more text, a lot more text. So you and I both are going to pause this movie and we will type all the text on page 88. Look at number 1 on page 88. It says to type if the digital, let me see that. Alright, that's where we're starting. You and I both will pause, and when you're done and when I'm done, we'll turn this back on. See you in a second. Now notice that it talks about fingerprint radars, It's really readers, but we're going to leave it misspelled so that at the end when the book teaches us how to use spell check, we can use it and there'll be a mistake there. Alright, so number 2 tells us to hit enter, and notice that you get the first line indent right here because that's how you set it up. No extra space because we already have a double space, and the first line indent, there's no need for the extra space. So we will type number 3 on page 88. It starts with a fingerprint reader, etc. Alright, let's pause our program, our recording. See you in a second. Alright, now that we're done typing that, I do want you to notice something. See how at the end of each period, see these small dots right here? Those are, you get those whenever there's a space. So anytime you hit a space bar, so if for some reason I forgot that I was doing one space at the end of each sentence, watch this. See, now I have 2 spaces there. So when I grade your papers, I turn on the show hide character and I do check for that. And it's 2 points off for every time that it's not consistent. So if the first sentence has 1 space at the end of it like this, then the entire document needs to have 1 space at the end of each paragraph. Each sentence. If the first sentence has 2 spaces like that, then the entire document needs to have 2 spaces at the end of each sentence. Make sure it's consistent. Whatever you choose, make sure it's consistent. Alright. So then on page 89, you want to click on the references ribbon. So we'll slide up here and click on references. If you are using the keyboard commands, that is alternate S and then L, which will go to the styles, and then you can hit the down arrow to choose the specific style. If you're using a mouse, just click on the down arrow where it says style MLA, and in the book it is asking us to use MLA 7th edition. Click on that and then you are chosen. If you're using your keyboard commands, arrow down to it and hit enter. On page 90, we're going to insert a citation. Now, if you're using keyboard commands, you will do alternate S, C, and then S again to add a new source. If you're using your mouse, you're going to click on Insert Citation on the down arrow, and you want to choose Add New Source. Now, notice that from the Create Source, you have several different choices. Notice that at Type of Source, it starts with Website, but notice that I can slide up, and there's Book, Book Section, Journal, Article, Reports, tons of stuff, all the way down to Miscellaneous, where you can choose whatever you want. In the book, it wants us to use article in a periodical. So arrow down to article in a periodical if you're using your keyboard commands, and then hit enter. If you're clicking, go ahead and just click on article in a periodical. Keyboard commands, you'll tab to the author, and mouse, you'll click in author. Notice that the second bullet on number 3 says type Rossi, Marcel Enrico. So Rossi, space, Marcel Enrico is the author. Then you can tab or type, tab to the title box, or type in the title, click and type Understanding How to Use Fingerprint Readers. Notice that the first letter of each important word is capitalized because it is a title. Now you can tab to the, hit tab one time, and in the periodical title you're going to type Digital Security Review. tab again, 2014 is the year, tab again, August, AUG, period, is the month, tab 2 times, and type in period space page period as the number of pages, tab 1 time, and the medium is going to be web. So where do we get this? Okay, it's from a web, an article in a periodical on the web. Now, if you're using keyboard commands, you'll type alternate A to place a check mark in the Show All Bibliography fields. If the mouse, just click in the box. Okay? Then you want to make sure that you scroll all the way down to the bottom, grab your vertical scroll bar and go to the bottom, or you can tab to year accessed. So notice that year accessed is right after the medium, and you're going to type in 2014 so people know how current your information is. If you're doing this for real, you always want to use something very current, or it makes it look really bad on you if you use something out of date. For a report, tab again, and you're going to type 3 as the day accessed, so October 3rd, 2014, and you can either hit enter for OK or click on OK, whatever makes you happy. Then notice that here on your computer, Rossi, that's the guy's last name, is in parentheses. You want to go ahead and hit your end key from your keyboard just in case it's on top of it, and now you want to hit a period. Alright, so that is the MLA 7th edition style of inserting a citation. Alright, at the bottom of page 91, we want to hit the space bar, and then we will type in another sentence. So let's go ahead and pause this while we type it, and when you're done, turn the movie back on. Alright, now that you're done with that paragraph, look on page 92 and it tells us to save. So shortcut for the keyboard is Control S, or you can click on the save button on the quick access bar, and that automatically saves everything that we've done. Now on page 92 at the bottom, to insert a footnote reference mark. So keyboard, you can do alternate Control F, or if you're clicking, you can click on Insert Footnote. We're on the References tab. In the Footnotes section, choose Insert Footnote. Notice that it automatically jumps down to the bottom of your page and draws a line and types a number 1. You must leave your cursor here. Don't hit enter. Don't click anywhere. So often people get this wrong and end up with all kinds of crazy stuff because they're clicking and moving and doing all kinds of nutty things. So leave your cursor right where it is and look on page 93, and it says to enter footnote text. So right where you are, you're going to type that text, nadir and white state. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pause the movie. Notice how mine stayed exactly right here. Notice that there's a 1 right where I had the cursor. Okay, so yours should look just like this. Notice that I have the footnote number here, exactly where it will put it exactly where your cursor is. Now, if worst comes to worst and you made a mess, you can grab this and put it where it should be. But this here, you never want to mess with this stuff here because it can make a gigantic mess if you start messing with that. So, on page 93, under to insert a citation placeholder. We're going to insert a placeholder. So this is a book that we're using, and we haven't actually typed in the information yet. So into our insert citations. So none of that stuff is saved for it like we just did earlier. So what we want to do is we want to add a new placeholder. So keyboard commands is alternate S, C, P. If you're using your mouse, you will slide, make sure you're in your references still, and you want to go to add a new placeholder by clicking on the insert citation. So click on the down arrow. Notice here's the book we've already typed in. Pretty cool, right? But we're going to add a new placeholder. Click here, and then we will give it a placeholder name. And the name is going to be at the bottom of page 93, Nadir. Then you will click on OK or hit enter on OK. Now, this is a tag name. And so you say, what is a tag name? What that is, it's just an identifier that links a citation to a source. So when you create a source, Word automatically creates a meaningful tag name. And this right here will link that up so that you can go in and edit that source. Now, let's put a period right there at the end of that. On page 94, to modify a style using a shortcut menu. So we're going to right click the note text in the footnote. So make sure it's the note text in that footnote, not your marker here, the text itself. So right click that note text, and if you're using keyboard shortcut, you can type an S now and go to style, or you can click on S to go to style. Notice that we have several different styles. Technically, it should have opened straight up to the footnote text style. If it did not, then you need to get to the footnote text style. Now we want to click on the modify button or alternate M if you're using the keyboard. And then you want to click on the font size arrow, which you can tab to the font size arrow, and click on that, and you're going to change it to size 12. So click on the down arrow and choose 12 or type the 12. Hit enter if you're using a keyboard, and then you want to choose the double space. If you're using a keyboard, you can tab till you get to the double space. And each of these three blocks right here, this is single space, 1.5 space, and the third one is double space. So you want to click on or choose the double space. Now you want to go to the format button. If you are using your keyboard, that will be alternate O, and then P for paragraph, or you can click on paragraph. Keyboard commands, alternate S for the special, or you can click on the down arrow for the special and choose first line. In keyboard commands, you would arrow down to first line and hit enter. Then enter or click on OK. Enter or click on OK. And then enter or click on apply. And notice now that our footnote is indented and is double spaced, but you didn't do anything to your normal page. This was all done to modifying the footnote style. Make sure that is the only way that you do that. Do not try to do it any other way, or once again, you will have a big mess. Alrighty, to edit a source on page 96, number 1 says, tap or click somewhere in the citation placeholder. So this time it's the placeholder, the nadir. And we want to click in it one time. Notice you have a down arrow. You can click on, and that's called citation options. Click on that down arrow and you want to choose edit source. Keyboard command, all you would have to do is type a T. Then where it says type of source, you want to choose book. If you're using keyboard commands, you can hit the down arrow on your keyboard and then you have to use the up arrow to move up to book, or you can click on book. Now we have two authors in this, so you can tab to the author box, but then we also have to click on edit. So tab or click on edit in the author box. And since we have two authors, this is going to be slightly different than the first one. Notice the 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet on page 97 says type Nadir as the first author's last name, tab, and type Aisha as the first name, tab, and then Sati as the middle name. Then you can click on or hit enter for add. Notice that Nadir Aishi Sati is down in the bottom section where it says names. Then number 3, the second bullet says type White as the second author's last name, tab. First name is Jonathan. Middle name is Richard. And once again, you can click on or enter on add. Then click on or enter OK. And notice that in the author, it automatically has this set up correctly. Notice there's a semicolon after Sati and a semicolon after Richard. This is set up correctly for MLA. So once again, don't mess with it. Leave it be. Now you can tab or click in title, and you're going to type biometric security. And then tab to the year 2014. Tab, Chicago is the city. Tab, the publisher is Windy City Press. And the medium is print. The mediums are very, 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 very important. A lot of times people leave this out, and then at the end on the bibliography they lose tons of points because it has to say print or web or however you got this. Very important. And notice that Nadir is our tag name that we already created. Pretty cool. So then click on or enter OK. Now notice that in our placeholder here it now says Nadir and White. That's because there are two authors, but we want to edit that citation. So once again, we'll click on the down arrow for citation options, and then we will go to edit citation. You can type an E for keyboard or click on edit citation. In the pages box, you can type a P to get to pages, and you're going to type 62 through 63. So it's on pages 62 to 63. Then you can tab and click on A for author and T for title. Then enter or click on OK. And notice that now instead of the name we just have the page numbers, because that is what we just typed. So now press the end key. It goes to the very end of that and it deselects the citation. Alright, excellent. And I would suggest save because it is always smart to save. On page 100, position the insertion point after the note reference mark in the document and then press enter. So the note reference mark is back up here in the body of the paper. So click up and you're to the right of the number 1 that is lifted up. And you'll hit enter one time. And notice that it is automatically indented because it is a new paragraph. And then number 2 says, type the first 3 sentences in the 3rd paragraph of the research paper. So I'm going to pause, and so are you. See you back in a second. Now on page 100, at the bottom it says to count words. To count words, you're going to click the word indicator on the status bar. So look at the bottom left-hand corner of your status bar. Notice that right now mine says 213 words. Yours should say the same, or at least pretty close. So if you click on that, notice that a word count text box pops up. Have you ever had a teacher that said, I want a 500-word essay? Voila! It shows you exactly how many words are in there, and you don't have to sit there and count them anymore. Kind of nice. And you can choose to include text boxes, footnotes, and endnotes. Most English teachers would not count those, so you would have the option of taking that out. Now, for now, this book wants us to leave it checked. So make sure that this box is checked. And then click on to hit enter for close. Okay. Page 101 at the bottom, automatic page breaks. We want to enter more text and insert another citation placeholder. So you want to make sure that your insertion point is positioned at the end of the 3rd sentence in the 3rd paragraph. So it should be right after the period from public. Hit the space bar one time. Then number 2 says type the rest of the 3rd paragraph. So once again, we are going to pause and type that paragraph. See you in a second. Okay, I'm going to type a little bit and let you watch, because what's cool is that Word automatically shoves this down to the next page. So right now it says page 1 of 1, and here in about 2 seconds it's going to say page 2 of 2, because it's automatically going to go down to the 2nd page. So I'm at recognition systems are becoming more sophisticated, and see how it popped down like that automatically. That is an automatic page break that Word does for you. It's based on your settings for your margins, the size of your paper, and all that kind of stuff, and so that it all fits neatly and looks nice. Alright, just wanted to point that out, and I'm going to pause one more time and finish my paragraph. See you in a second. Welcome back. Now on page 101 at the bottom, number 3 says tap or click the insert citation button. If you're using keyboard commands, that will be alternate S, C, P. And for those of you using a mouse, it is insert citation button. So we'll click on the down arrow there. Once again, notice the 2 things that we've already put in, and we're going to choose add new placeholder. And this time we're going to type Alan Smith as the tag name, then enter or click on OK. Now you'll put a period at the end of that sentence, and on page 102 to show and hide white space. Now this area right here is white space. Now this break is what Microsoft, some people want to hide that just to see what it would look like if the pages ran together. I'm just telling you now, I never do this, but it's cool to know how. But once you do it, make sure you turn it off. because the next person who uses your computer will be totally confused and not understand what's going on. So, with that being said, notice that as you slide down with your mouse, when you come to here, you get a double little white box, two boxes with two arrows pointing towards each other. If you click one time or double click, then it hides that all the white space, the bottom and top margin, and that little grayed out area in between the pages. So you can see what it looks like if it ran together. Now, to get that back, you can just double click on that space with that double box and double click to close it and double click to open it back up. Pretty cool. Make sure that you change it back to this so that the next person who uses your computer doesn't have a heart attack. Don't want them worried. Alright, now page 103. Tap or click somewhere in the citation placeholder for Alvin Smith. So we're going to click in Alvin Smith one time just to select it. Then you're going to click on the down arrow for citation options, and then T for a keyboard command, or edit source, click on edit source. Now in this case, keyboard commands, you can hit a down arrow, an arrow to website, or you can click and choose website. Hit enter or click on website, and then alternate A to go to show all bibliography fields, or click in the checkbox. And notice that it gives you a ton of bibliography fields. You can tap to or click in author. And number 6 says type Alvin Smith, comma, space, Samantha. And make sure you spell everything correctly, because this will be on everything and it'll be points off for every single mistake. I know, that's a bummer. Hit tab or click in the name of the web page, and you're going to type understanding face recognition systems. And then tab to or click in the production company, and so that's down a little bit, production company, and that will be course technology. And then tab or click in year 2014, tab 16 for the day, I for the month, you're going to put September, tab, the day is 16, tab all the way down to the medium, and the medium is web. So it does skip some things, and you want to go all the way down to the medium, and the medium is web. And then enter or click on OK. Notice that it now shows Alvin Smith right here. And we're going to turn the page on page 104. We're going to hit the end key. Notice that it is at the end after the period. And then we want to hit enter. And number 2 says to type the last paragraph of the research. That's a nice short research paper, right? Never got one that short in school. So let's pause this movie and then I'll meet you back in a second. Okay, welcome back. We are done with our research paper on page 104. At the bottom it says to save an existing document with the same file name. We have done that a gazillion times already today. So either hit Control S or click on the save. And according to the book, this is a great place for a break. So I will see you in a bit on page 105.